Welcome back to Bloom with Tina and Kelsey. Today, we're sitting down with our dear friend, Kim Dandurand, whose story is a beautiful testament to trusting God's plan, even when it leads you somewhere you never expected. Kim is a high school theology teacher with a heart for faith and learning, but her journey hasn't been a straight path. After stepping away from teaching for a season, Kim felt an unexpected calling to dive into the world of network marketing, a step she never imagined taking. Over the next 4 years, Kim discovered new skills, deepened her faith, and grew into the person she needed to be for the next chapter God was preparing for her. In this episode, Kim shares how that season taught her to trust the direction God was giving her and embrace growth in unexpected places. Kim's journey has led her to start her own podcast, Keeping the Faith with Kim, and publish her devotional, In His Image. Her story is an inspiring reminder that when we trust God's timing, we can truly bloom into the people we're meant to be. Grab a cozy drink and join us for this heartfelt and faith-filled conversation.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bloom with Tina and Kelsey.
Good morning.
I am so excited for today. We have my dear, dear friend, Kim Dandurand, with us. I just love her to pieces. So, Kim, say hello.
Hey, Kelsey. Hey, Tina. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am honored to be a guest. I've been listening to your podcast. I've been inspired by it. I love what the both of you have to share, and I'm just so grateful and blessed that I get to be on here and share a little bit of my story as well.
Awesome. So I met Kim, how many years ago? About, I would say probably 4 years ago.
4 years.
4 years ago, I met Kim through the health and wellness business that we both are involved in. So I just love her faith and her inspiration, her aspirations. Is that the word?
Yeah. Like what she wants to do in the
Yes.
world.
Yeah. And she's like my role model. I just love her. So anyway, Kim, tell us your story.
Oh my goodness. Really? You know, for me, when I look back on my life, the good, the bad, all of it, I think that what has surprised, I don't want to say surprised me because I am a woman of faith, but the way in which his plans are always so much greater than anything I could have ever imagined is just like, it should, if I ever write another book, that might have to be the title. Like, his plans have blown me away time after time. And when I think that this is as good as it's going to get, as long as I'm trusting him and listening to his voice and taking the things that I'm uncertain about to him and laying them at his feet instead of trying to control it, it is just amazing what he has done in my life. And I'm just so grateful that I've learned how to listen to him, because I am a little bit of a hot mess. I have ADHD, LMNOP, like I think with me, they've added extra letters in there. So, you know, I spent 21 years as a teacher, and there was no doubt in my life that he created me to be a teacher. When I was a little girl, I did two things. I played church. Sometimes I wondered why I didn't have friends come over very often, is because I invited them over. I made them sit on my steps so I could give the homily. And then I would smush bread and give them communion.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I did that.
I'm surprised you're not a nun.
Well, my mom 100% thought. Actually, my mom thought, as faithful as she was like, I think my daughter, I don't know why she went the morbid route, but she was like, I think my daughter's going to die an early death because God is, who is this young playing church? Like, she felt like God was preparing me to like come home or something, because who had, but he was preparing me for something greater. I played church and I played school. Mm-hmm. I had a little school set up in my basement. No one else was allowed to be the teacher. They would get really mad and want to be the teacher. I was like, no, I'm the teacher. I had my printouts. I did it all. And what that led to later in life was my career. I was a Catholic school educator, so I got to share my faith with my students on a daily basis as a teacher. So, like, even as a little kid, he was preparing me for my role as a Catholic educator. So I can go all the way back to then and just see the way in which he worked. I don't know if I just...
No, that's incredible that he was working in you at such a young age, because we've talked about our journeys and kind of finding that God's voice to us at later stages in our life, but we haven't really dove back to like that early childhood thing,
Right.
Which I find super interesting. So when was the first time that you felt like you knew, like, this is actually God pushing me in one direction or another versus just these are the things I'm interested in, like
Right.
from childhood, like on?
Because when that was happening as a child, I had no idea it was God.
Right.
I'm just playing church and playing school,
Mhm.
And then when I was in 10th grade, as I was growing up, I was totally boy crazy. Like, I was always in church on Sunday, and I was in the front row, so everyone else was like, this girl is so holy. No. There were 2 altar boys, Matt and Jason, and they were cute. And I sat in the front row so I could see them and flirt with them. Literally, God was like, I look back now and I'm like, God knew that he had a plan for me, and he had to use the things that he knew I would pay attention to put us on his track, right? So then in 10th grade, my friend Kim, she came to me and she was like, hey, listen, I'd never been in a youth group or retreats or anything. I just went to church on Sunday in our small town. That's all I did. And my friend Kim came and said, listen, I heard there's this retreat and it's for all churches, and there's going to be all these boys from other schools there. And it was like Charlie Brown after that. All I heard was cute boys on a retreat away from your home for a whole weekend with cute boys from other school. That was it. And so I did not go to grow in my faith. I did not go to have some, change in my life. Although that's exactly what happened. I always say, I met the most amazing man in the world, the cutest boy ever. And that was really when I was introduced to Jesus. And that's when it moved from just knowing about him to actually knowing him. It moved from my head to my heart. And I just became a changed person. So from 10th grade on, I started to be more open to, wow, he's really working in my life. And if I learn how to listen to him, I think my life's going to be a little bit better, because when I listen to myself, it's usually a disaster. So I just really started, I was a firm believer in, just like athletes practice, you have to go to practice to be better. You can't just show up as a football player or as a soccer player or as a actress or a musician and just say, yeah, put me in. I'm just good. Trust. No, you have to put in the work. So that's when I started to, develop a prayer life more consistently, to spend more time in his word. And then going to church wasn't something I felt like I had to do. It was something I wanted to do. I was putting in the practice. But then as things were coming my way in life, it was the closer that I got to him, the more clear his plan became, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And I think, when you say, gosh, there were so many little times where I know he led me a certain way. I think one of the biggest things is I spent 21 years as a teacher, and there was nothing else. Like, I was Mrs. D. It was my identity. It was who I was. I confidently stepped in the classroom every day as Mrs. D. And I've never been a really confident person. I know what it says in his word. I know we're fearfully and wonderfully made. I know we're made in his image and likeness, but I struggle with self-image issues. I struggle with loving the person he created me to be. I think a lot of women do.
Mm-hmm.
But in the classroom, as a Catholic educator, I was the greatest version of myself because I believed in myself in that role.
You had the confidence in
I had that confidence. And it came from him and believing like wholeheartedly, he created me for this. And I'm going to show up glorifying him in all ways because this is what he's calling me to do. I felt so confident in that.
What grade was that, and what did you teach?
So at that point in my life, I was teaching 9th grade high school theology.
Theology,
Yes.
to 9th graders of all things, too.
Yeah. Remembering that in 9th grade, all I cared about was boys. So trying to introduce girls and boys to Jesus at 9th grade, that's a calling. I will tell you that. Yeah. Yeah. So basically we are at that point in our life, we're getting ready. It would have been my 4th year of teaching. We're getting ready to move back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is my hometown. My son has decided to go to the University of Pittsburgh. So we are getting ready to move back to Pittsburgh. Our house is being built. And I knew it was my last year of teaching, and it's March, I guess. And they say to us, hey, we're going to go home for a couple weeks because there's this thing called COVID. We'll be back in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That was the end of my career. There was no coming back. So we moved back to Pittsburgh. I taught the rest of that year when we were finally back. It was all online, everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my career in North Carolina ended online. And, I was like, okay, I'm going to put my resume out there. I've been 21 years. I'm awesome at this. I was confident, I'm going to get a job. Well, the Diocese of Pittsburgh had changed the rules. I don't have a master's degree in theology.
Okay.
I've never had to. They changed the rules in Pittsburgh. And if I wanted to stay teaching religion in high school, I had to go back and get my master's. And so that was kind of the first time that I was like, I don't know. I just felt like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Am I supposed to go back to school and get master's? At this point, I was 47.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't want to go to school. I'd also gone through, I live every day with a brain tumor. I was diagnosed in 2010. I've had 2 brain surgeries and radiation. I still live with him. I call him Ben. But one of the effects of my brain tumor is, you could put on a song from 1980. I'm going to sing every word. Those memories, they're with me. You try to get me to remember something today. It was just a part of this surgery and trauma that I just have no short-term memory. It's just gone. And so the thought of going back to school was, I couldn't even think about that. I was like, I can barely remember what I did 2 hours ago. How in the world am I going to pass a test?
Right. Terrifying.
It's terrifying. Yeah. But then on the other end, I'm like, but how do I not be Mrs. D? And I knew that I didn't want to go back into a classroom and just be like a 3rd grade teacher or a 4th grade. I knew I was called to teach religion to kids. And so I prayed about it and I just decided I don't know where he's calling me next, but I don't want to go back and get my master's. So I had really come to the decision through him and through a lot of prayer and discernment that teaching was over for me. And that was really, really scary. But I felt confident that I have no doubt. I'm not listening to what other people are saying. Somebody told me this a long time ago. We spend a lot of time saying, listen, God, I'm speaking, instead of saying, speak, God, I'm listening.
Right.
And that's what I did that whole time. I'm listening. What are you going to tell me? But there was a little bit of a tug of war. He was saying, I think this is it right now. And I was like, but I didn't know who I was.
Who am I without this? Yeah.
How do I take away Mrs. D? So that was a really, really scary time. But I confidently said, all right, hanging up, Mrs. D.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Tina comes into the picture and my Lexus family comes into the picture. So I don't know if you kind of want me to dive into that.
Are you ready to elevate your health and wellness journey? Join me, Tina Baden, as we explore the transformative world of Plexus, a health and wellness business that's changing lives one person at a time. Plexus offers such a diverse range of products that cater to your unique health goals. Whether you're looking to manage your weight, improve gut health, boost your energy, or find the perfect nutrition for your kids. With an emphasis on natural ingredients and holistic wellness, Plexus empowers you to take charge of your health journey. Are you ready to take the first step? I invite you to connect with me. Head over to my website and fill out my health questionnaire for a personalized solution crafted just for you. Let's embark on this exciting journey to better health together. Your best self awaits.
I find it super interesting when we give up a piece of ourselves, or not even give up a piece of ourselves, when we recognize that who we are is not the things we do.
Yes.
Right? And that, losing that big thing that you do, I feel like is what is required in order to really find who you are as a person.
Yes.
Because for so many of us, especially, I feel like I always say especially us women, but that's only because I only know the women's story. But we are mom. Mm-hmm. We are mom of triplets. We are mom of boys. We are a nurse. We are a teacher. We are a financial planner. And we always wrap so much of our identity in who we are to other people.
Yes.
Or our occupation.
And that is definitely both men and women, yes. The occupation part. But I think for women, a lot of times it's who we are to other people. And when we can finally let go of some huge part of that to see who we are inside, life shifts drastically.
Yeah.
And
I think too, we can become safe. I was in my teaching comfort zone. I didn't think about anything else. I was a teacher. Yes, I was a mom. I was a wife. I did all of that as well. But my occupation, I was a teacher. So I just felt like, okay, that's the gift and talent God gave me. That's it. Well, when that was stripped of me, and I was I just fell into this world of network marketing. I was taking supplements, focusing on my gut health. As a person who struggles with body dysmorphia and eating disorder my whole life, I had no idea that my gut health was going to help my mental health, which helped me really begin healing from years of self-image and body dysmorphia and body image issues, which, led me to deciding to do network marketing, something that would have never been on my radar.
Right.
And God always uses, a lot of times when God speaks to me, he speaks through other people. And sometimes he has to speak through many, many people. Sometimes I picture him up there in heaven, banging his head against the wall, being like, this is the fifth person I've sent to this woman and she's not listening. But
I was listening to those God wings, right?
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes we're so busy. And honestly, we have our own plans in our mind that we're like, we hear it. I heard it, but I wasn't listening because I was like, network marketing, negative.
Right.
Not my plan, God. So I wasn't even recognizing. But anyway, enough voices came my way that I realized, okay, I'm going to jump into this. And I've done that for the last 4 years. And without those 4 years, I became my family calls me an entrepreneur. I knew nothing about business, nothing. And all of a sudden, I'm a businesswoman and I'm growing and I'm learning. And then I had this part of me that always wanted to do a podcast, but I'm like, you're not podcast Kim, you're theology teacher Kim. But then I grew so much as a businesswoman that I had this confidence of yeah, let's do it. Started a podcast. Always knew in my mind that I wanted to write a book. Had no idea how or what. Plexus, the supplements, the gut health brought so much healing into my life. in a way of me truly learning how to love myself the way God created, that I wrote a 30-day devotional on, learning to love, not love. I had to change the word because the book is called In His Image, embracing the body God created. Because it's not love. Never love. I have an illness. I will never love the body He created, but I'm embracing it. And so without those 4 years, without God taking away teaching, I wouldn't have been able to do these things that I think also were gifts and talents of mine, but we get stuck in these little bubbles of, well, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, and we don't expand ourselves. And so I think that those 4 years were a way for Him to say to me, girl, I got some other plans for you.
Yeah.
Like, open your eyes and listen to me. And the person that I am now, I mean, it's a completely different Kim than I was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Never would have happened without teaching being stripped away. 100%, without a doubt.
And listening to Him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think another good point here, because you're going back to teaching now, correct? Or you're back to teaching.
Yes.
You are teaching again. Is that sometimes those things that we're like pushing away as that's not the thing, a lot of times it's the thing for a season to stretch us and expand us. And maybe we'll go back to the original thing that we feel super aligned with, but we need that discomfort for a little bit.
100%. And even in those 4 years, I mean, I was stretched and I was uncomfortable doing things that I just did not think were anywhere near gifts and talents of mine. But what He showed me, well, through that time, there were a lot of voices telling me, well, no, you're not, who's going to listen to you on a podcast? You're not strong. You're not good enough to do that. Who is ever going to read? So you have to there are so many voices coming at us every day. And people will always say to me, how do you know what voice is His and what voice isn't? And I think the more practice we put in, the more time we spend in His Word, the more time we take it to prayer, the more time we go to church and we put in the practice, the easier it really is to discern those voices. And while I was in my 4 years of Plexus, it was evident in the beginning that this is exactly what I was supposed to be doing. But then all of a sudden, because I was like, this is it. I'm taking this. I'm doing it. This is it. I am Plexus Kim. And then all of a sudden, these little God winks, like we call them, started to happen. And I was like, whoa. Now you're kind of making me have this desire to go back into teaching. But you took me from this path and put me on this path. Now I'm safe and comfy, cozy on this path. And now you want to take me on another. And in the meantime, I moved to a whole different state, right? Now I'm not in Pittsburgh anymore. I'm in Oklahoma. Couldn't even found that on a map a couple years ago, to be honest. Now I'm in Oklahoma. And then the thing that was really, I spent 4 years convincing everybody that God called me to Plexus and that Plexus is this ministry and that I'm going to go to the top of the company. And I believed it. And then all of a sudden He's like, haha, that was only for a season. I've stretched you. I've shown you what you're capable of. I need you, but the kids are struggling. I need you back in that classroom. And I was so, like, I was a little mad. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? How do I look at all these people that put their trust in me? I built a team. I brought other people on. I've I don't say this, like Tina says, I've inspired her through Plexus. There were people that look to me that see me trying to reach this goal in this company. And I'm going to be like, peace, I'm out. Like, I was so torn. Like, God, how do I do that? People are going to say, oh, it just got too hard and she failed. She couldn't do it. And I just kept practicing, kept going to church, kept spending time in his word, kept surrendering, laying it at his feet. I was just in this tug of war for so long. And then you have people that are saying, no, you're supposed to be doing this. You were made for this. You were meant for this. You're going to reach the top of the company. You can do it. But then I could, louder and louder, I could hear God's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Kelsey, that was the season, my child. You got where you needed to get.
Mm-hmm.
Now I need you back.
Are you feeling ready for a change? At Apricity Financial Planning, we help women who are stepping into a new season of life and want to make intentional financial choices that support their goals. Whether you're exploring a career shift, navigating a big life transition, or simply looking to align your money with what truly matters to you, we're here to help. At Apricity, we believe financial planning isn't just about numbers. It's about creating the life you envision with clarity and confidence. If you're ready to take the next step toward your future that feels aligned and purposeful, visit apricityfp.com to learn more or reach out directly. Let's chart your path forward together. And it's not even where you needed to get. I guess I'm relating this to my own story a little bit. It's the things you needed to learn in that season.
Go up too. Yeah.
Yeah.
He healed me. I get to step back into the classroom now. Truly, I used to stand in front of my students telling them that they were beautifully and wonderfully made, that they were made in his image and likeness, that they are God's masterpiece. And I would go home and not believe that at all. I would stare in a mirror and cry because what I saw in front of me disgusted me. You know, I get to go back. I am back in the classroom and I get to stand in front of my students. And now I get to say that and believe it myself. I am showing up as a teacher now. Post-entrepreneur Kim, post-podcast Kim, post-author Kim, post-plexus Kim. Well, I'm always going to be plexus Kim. But in a whole different way. And, you know, and even the way in which, you know, there were no jobs here. I just felt like he was calling me back, but there was nothing. And then I randomly saw this ad in the Catholic newspaper about a campus ministry position at this school. I didn't really want to be a campus minister. You would help prepare mass. You would help train people to read at mass. I'm a Catholic, so all the behind the scenes work. If you know me, I'm not behind the scenes. I like to be up in front and center. I can talk.
Right.
So, but I was just like, you know what? I'm going to interview for this job because I just know that I'm being called back into the classroom, into a school building. And maybe this will get me there. I go into this interview and then, you know, a few days later I get a call and they're like, listen, there's been a change of plans. Now, I always keep a picture, it's in my classroom, of Jesus laughing because it's my favorite picture because every time I think I have a plan, it's just like, he's like, watch it. Yeah. It's my favorite portrait of him. So she calls and she says, so we're not going to offer you the campus minister position. And I just sunk. I was like, oh my gosh, okay. But I'm a believer. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, this wasn't it. And then she goes, however, we do firmly believe that you're not meant to be our campus minister. You're supposed to be in the classroom. So we went to our 10th grade theology teacher. We asked her if she would be interested in the campus ministry position. She said yes. So now we would like to offer you 10th grade theology.
Wow.
I just cried.
Oh, yeah.
Because only God. I got goosies. Only God. Who? And what's beautiful was I was petrified. I was like, this woman is going to hate me. Like, I stole her. She's been in that role for 11 years. When I finally met her, she said, do you know how hard I've been praying for that job?
No way.
She just had it. She has a 3-month-old and a 5-month-old and a 3-year-old. And she said, that job would have freed me up, but I knew I couldn't interview for it because what are they going to do mid-year for a 10th grade position? And she's like, my husband and I have been praying for something to come our way. And that is just the way he has worked in my life time and time again. I refuse to doubt anymore. I refuse to question. I just laid at his feet. And I'm just like, now I'm just like, have fun. Can't wait to see what you do with this one. And and it is scary, but it always works out better than I could have ever imagined. And now I get to stand in front of these kids. And my husband said, listen, I loved Plexus, Kim, but you were so focused on building that business that we kind of stopped building our life together. Mm-hmm. And my husband would never have said that during those 4 years because he was like, I will support you and this is what you want to do. I got you. But now he's like, I got my wife back. And there is a part of me that I am back where I know I'm called to be, but I don't have to stop.
Right.
I got number 2 already started.
Oh, amazing.
You know, I'm going to record after us. I'm going to start my I've learned that I don't there's more. I don't have to just safely sit in the teaching bubble.
Right.
Yep.
And I would have never known that without the 4 years that have come before this. So
So tell me too, the book, when did that come into the picture? Like towards the end of that 4 years, or how did that happen and come about?
It was, I will say, for 3 years, I never took my mind off of Plexus, period. That was it. And when I look back on that now, I realize during that time, my son went to college and he's a mama's boy. And I just don't know how to even function without him, which is not healthy. And then he moved to Oklahoma. So I have no doubt that if I wasn't so focused on being this entrepreneur and growing as a person, number one, I would have never been strong enough to let him go to Oklahoma. Hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I would have been so selfish. I'd have been like, no.
Yeah.
You're not going there. That's too far. I would have totally clipped his wings 100% if I hadn't grown as a person. So I know that he had me go through all of that because of other things that were coming my way. And then making the decision to move here.
Mm-hmm.
So where my Plexus family is saying, your business is going to take off when you go to Oklahoma. You're going to meet all these new people. His plan when I moved here to Oklahoma was I had really healed a lot. Mm-hmm. You'll never be fully healed from an eating disorder. But while I was here, now I'm stripped of my mom and my sister, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. We're a big Italian family. We get together all the time. I never really have a lot of silence back in Pittsburgh because we're not silent people. Yeah. And my friends that I'm with all the time, my Plexus family that we're getting together all the time. We're doing all these things. Now I'm in Oklahoma. I know no one. I know my son and my husband and my son's fiance. That's it. And that's when the podcast.
Okay.
But I wouldn't have been ready for the podcast without those 3 years of Plexus tunnel vision, growth tunnel vision. Right. And it was the podcast. And then it was like this book. Other people, when I would be talking to people in the Plexus industry, so many people would come to me focusing on only weight. And I would realize there's so much more behind that desire to lose weight. Mm-hmm. We're broken. Mm-hmm. And we think the losing of the weight is going to fix us, and it doesn't. It's a Band-Aid. Right. And I saw that I could help people heal, not only with those supplements, but with sharing the story of how I had healed. And it allowed me in that last year of Plexus, to be strong enough to sort of step back from Plexus. Because I also had this excuse of, I just moved here. I don't know anybody. It's hard to, but I stepped back, and then I was able to start the podcast, write the book,
Okay.
So it was just this plan that he was working out, that I just got to sit back and just trust. And I listened to start the podcast, but I didn't start it immediately. It was months and months and months of, I can't. How would I do that? I don't know how to do a podcast. I'm not techie. I'm not this. And then finally I just did it. It was like, get these voices out, do it. And then it was the book. What do you mean? You don't know how to write book? Listen how you talk. You don't, you're from Pittsburgh. You have this accent that nobody should have. And how can you write a book? But then I just sat down and started. And then that just led me slowly through that last year of being here. His voice just became louder and louder. That, all right, now it's time to go back to the classroom. So yeah, it wasn't until the last year that I had decided that I was no longer going to pursue network marketing, and that I did want to, because I could still do network marketing on the side. I'm just choosing not to. It's just, when you get to a certain point, you realize that you have to have a passion for building the business with other people. Mm-hmm. And that's not my passion. Mm-hmm. My passion is building his kingdom, not building a business. And you could do that through Plexus, but I'm just confident that he's telling me, let other people do that through Plexus. Mm-hmm. I need you over here building my kingdom, and I need that to be your focus.
Right. Yeah. So can you tell us more about your book?
Yeah. When it's kind of funny, because sometimes we look at the things that we have, like ADHD, and we look at it as a negative, as my brain tumor. But in scripture, Paul says that Paul had a thorn in his side, and he asks it to be removed 3 different times. And God says, no, I'm not removing it, because it's that thorn in your side that when you are weak, it's going to remind you that I am strong. So with my ADHD, LMNOP, the thought of just writing a book, could I? I'm going to hang my Jesus laughing picture on the wall. You never know. I'm going to listen to him. But it was very clear to me that it needed to be a devotional.
A devotional. Okay.
Yes. And it needed to be 30 days, like quick info.
Okay.
That became very clear to me, because that's my brain. When I thought of a whole book of my story, I started to get paralyzed with fear, which I know is not of him. But I can also discern sometimes that when that starts to take over, that's not his plan for me, because he is not a God. We're not supposed to have that fear. So it became very clear that if I was going to do this, it needed to be a 30-day devotional. And I just kind of sat down and thought about the things I've learned along the way. And I just started, since healing my gut, since working on my mental health, all the little things I've learned along the way to continue to allow me to be on this healing journey. And I just started I'm not the computer. No, I'm still chicken scratch on paper. That's how I work. I'm old school still.
Your brain works in a different way when you're physically writing on paper, for sure.
Yeah. And so I came up with different little titles, and I started just drafting thoughts, and then I would go back and connect. Oh, well, this title, the different titles, Grace, which is so funny, because that is the random page you saw me just open. Yeah. 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That's from the story of Paul, right there. You're so darn good, God. But so I would just, talk about the grace of, and I would think about stories when I wouldn't give myself grace, when I would never take time off from exercising, when I would over exercise and harm my body rather than skip a day because I was so unhealthy. There was no skipping, and now I'm to a point in my life where I take 2 days off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I don't still struggle with that. Ask my husband. He was like, yesterday was a day off. And he's like, will you please be quiet? It's your 2 days off. Today's day 2. Be confident. Give yourself grace. So, that illness, that voice is always going to be there. So I just started taking my stories, started taking the scriptures that were on my heart, and just putting them on paper. And little by little, it just became his words and my words. And it was little by little. Like, I can't tell you how many times I would go back through it and change things. And one of my friends, Laura Rudiger, I love her dearly. She's an English teacher. She is actually my editor. And she laughed. She was like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm reading, she said this nicely, like, I feel like I'm reading one of the kids' books, like one of the kids' essays that they turn in or papers that they turn in, because 1 minute you're in this tense, the next minute you're in this tense, the next minute you go back to, I was all over the place because I was just speaking from my heart. So she really helped me make it actually make sense. There were a lot of little things that she used as an English teacher. I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, she was
all those editing symbols.
So, God also showed me that this doesn't happen without other people being willing to help. And another friend of mine, while this was on my mind, and this is how good God is. This was on my mind and my heart that I was like, no, can't happen. One of my very best friends since 9th grade, his real name's Denver, but his nickname was Hooter, so we call him Hooter. All of a sudden, he publishes a book. I knew he had been a writer his whole life, but he works for the FBI, so that became his career. Mm-hmm. He writes this book, so I text and call him, and I'm like, whoa. So he shares his story of finally being brave enough to do this. Then he tells me, I'm like, how did you do it? He's like, oh my goodness, you go here, you do this. I would have never been able to do this without Hooter walking me through all the steps and making me feel like I can do this. And then being able to text him and say, oh my goodness, I'm stuck here. How do I go here in the apps that help you make this book, make a cover, do all that. And I wouldn't have been able to do this without Laura taking my words and ADHDing them.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot. Mm-hmm. So this isn't just me. And now I look at that and I say, oh my gosh, like, we did this. And I'm excited to try to do it again. They might not be too excited because they know what is coming their way because I need their help. They're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But
I am sure they are equally as excited to be a part of something so cool. So, yeah. So where can we find this book? It's called In His Image, 30 Days to Embrace the Body God Created. Where can people find the book?
It is on Amazon. And all you have to do is just put the title in His Image, Kim Dandurand. And there were other books that had the In His Image title, but that was just my story. And I wasn't going to change the title because I've known it. I've read it. Mm-hmm. I've taught it, but I finally believe it. I finally believe that I am created in His image and likeness. And now living like that, even living like that brokenly, like, I don't get it right all the time. I'm blessed that I have people that remind me. And I just was like, I saw other books like that with the title, but I thought, no, this is my title. This is, so if you put in His name or in His image, you're going to, unless you put my last name, you're going to see other people's, which I'm sure their books are great too.
Right. But we'll also provide the Amazon link in our show notes for anybody who wants to just click on the link and get right to it without the search. So we'll make sure we include that as well. And then we'll also include a link to your podcast because you have a podcast as well. So what's your podcast called?
So my podcast is called Keeping the Faith with Kim.
Perfect.
And basically it started when I was teaching in North Carolina the first time, high school. I would always do Gospel Fridays with my kids. And I would just, we would sit on the floor. We would open the reading for that weekend for that upcoming Sunday, and we would talk about it. When COVID hit, And when I wasn't teaching, my students were like, Mrs. D, we really miss those moments. Can you start recording like yourself? And, so I started a YouTube channel, which I look back at that and I was like, oh my goodness, you can tell when you go back to this, pre-plexus, Kim, I was so inflamed. Oh my goodness. You can see plexus changing me over my 4 years.
Yeah.
However, I started recording the videos of myself just to send to my students.
That's so cool.
Yes. And so it was one of my students that messaged me one day and said, Mrs. D, have you ever thought about a podcast? Because there's so many everyday Christians that just want to live like him, but it's so overwhelming. It's so hard to know how and the what. And when you pick up the Bible, it's scary and there's big words, and you go to church and everybody seems to have it perfectly figured out, which we don't. And she just said, have you ever thought about just doing a podcast to help everyday Christians live like him?
Yeah.
While you yourself are trying to figure it out too. And that was the seed that was planted. Yeah. And it was about a year later that I actually, after growing as an entrepreneur, had the courage to actually do it. So it's just, he's always sending people our way. We just have to be open and willing to listen and recognize his voice.
Yeah. That's so good. Well, thank you.
Yeah, so that's on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube as well. Okay. Keeping the Faith with Kim.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Yes, this has been great.
I knew you would love her story.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today, Kim. And I am excited to be able to share this story. I think there's a lot of good insights along the way that we've talked through. And if people want more, we will make sure we send them to your podcast. And I want to start this devotional. This is fantastic. So like you said, easy little snippets, one day at a time for 30 days, very doable. So yeah. Awesome.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm loving watching what you're doing together. You guys are just inspiring people. You're helping people bloom. Oh. And that's what it is all about. And I'm just so grateful that you allowed me to be here with you guys today.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Bloom with Tina and Kelsey. Your support truly means the world to us, and we're so grateful to have you as part of our blossoming community.
We hope you enjoyed this week's conversation and found inspiration in our discussions. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you love what you hear, please consider leaving us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more listeners like you.
Join us next week for another exciting episode filled with insights, laughter, and growth. We can't wait to share it with you.
Keep blooming and see you soon.